Welcome to paradise. Welcome to paradise. Welcome to paradise.
Welcome to week 7. I'm going to talk about some tips for the week 7 assignments. And we'll start with climate data. So we ask you to fill in a number of items of information about the climate from where you live. And one thing I want to point out is when we ask for your rainfall, we want the rainfall by month. Now, if you're a student in the US, this is fairly easy information to obtain. And we provide a link for you to be able to access that information on the modules page. Now, if you're not from the US, we have students from a wide variety of countries in this class, and there really is a wide spectrum of what kind of climate data you have access to. So I basically just want to tell you, we understand that if you're not in the US, you may not be able to get the kind of climate data that you can in the US, and we completely understand that. So just do the best you can. Another thing to note is that rainfall and snowfall should be separate categories. So if you are in an area with snowfall, you should be able to find data that tells you how much snow you get. Now, snowfall does not necessarily translate directly to the same quantity of rainfall as a rule of thumb, because snow can have more or less embedded moisture in it, depending on whether it's wetter snow or drier snow. So you may be able to, there may be data that tells you how much a foot of snow in your climate translates to as a foot of snow, an inch of rain, an inch of precipitation. But that may or may not be some information you can find. But look into it the best you can. Now, the other thing is that we're asking you is to not just think about the physical climate, rain and temperature. We're also asking you to give a little thought about the socioeconomic climate of the area that you live in, because this really is actually an important piece to understanding the overall climate. Right? There's the personal climate too. What is your state of mind? But when you're looking at assessing your place within your environment where you are, the socioeconomic climate plays a big role on some of your design goals and what the context is that you live in. So, for instance, if you are in an area that would be described as economically depressed with mostly recent immigrants, right? That would shape the environment of what context your design is sitting within in a very different way than if your socioeconomic climate is a wealthy suburb of major metropolitan area, mostly affluent commuters, for instance. Right? So give us just a little brief picture of what the human climate is where you live. Look at the climate resource links that we provide you in the page. A lot of times people have questions and we end up just referring them to the links that we've already provided. So I would say before you ask questions, specific questions, go ahead and browse those links and see if you might find the answers yourself. And the last one is, we really are asking you to see if you can find the maximum the historic maximum 24-hour rain event. Finding this historic rain event will tell you something about the peak flows in your environment. Okay, so now we're going to look at the bioregional quiz. One thing we found is a lot of people don't actually know what a food chain is. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate a food chain that I witness in my yard. This is a hazelnut. Now, if I get up in the middle of the night, I hear this little crunching, scratching sound. I have a hazelnut tree right out of the bathroom window. And you know what's up there eating the hazelnuts in the middle of the night? Yep, you guessed it. I'll draw it and we'll see if... Rats, right? I've got rats up in my hazelnut tree eating the hazelnuts at night. But you know who else I hear that's sitting there and hunting the rats? Woo, woo. So in my yard, I have a food chain where the rats eat the hazelnuts and the owls eat the rats. And I believe that the owls are the top predator in their particular chain. So that's an example of a food chain, right? Is what is the primary food item? What is the thing that eats that? What is the thing that eats that? And how does the circle continue, right? And so this is just a very simple food chain example. Now, another question from the bioregional quiz is what flowers are the first to bloom in your environment? However, if you live in the tropics, where the seasonality, you don't have a winter, a dormant season per se, then you may not be able to answer that question. So if you live in the tropics, then we want you to use the question, what flowers bloom the longest? Okay, and the last thing I want to point out is when we ask you about what the medicinal herbs and plants are in your area, we want you to use indigenous species, and we want you to include the botanical names. All right, well, those are my helpful hints here for week 7 for completing your assignments. And looking forward to seeing what you come up with. All right, thanks a lot.